Tell us who you are and what role you played in Paved With Good Intentions.
Okay. How you doing out there? My name is JD Cochran. I'm the director, writer, producer, editor, DP of Paved With Good Intentions.
I'm Yolanda Cochran, and I am the co-writer and producer of the film.
Go ahead, Javon. Throw something at me. What you want to know about the film?
Okay, so with that intro, give me what you would consider like a log line, a quick two-sentence description of the movie.
After a corporate scandal provokes a murder/suicide,
A family's black sheep sets out to prove to his father that he always favored the wrong son, only to make discoveries about himself.
as their interwoven storylines merge at the truth.
Wow,
Yeah.
that sounds like you've thought about that a while. That's almost exactly what Yolanda said.
She got my log line. That's what it is. She's trying to front like she had our memory. She's reading the log line we came up with.
Yeah, I've had to submit that enough places to remember now.
Who came up with the original story? Was it all your idea?
Yolanda and I both came up with it at the same time. I'd have to say, in terms of the story and the writing, we were both 50-50.
So we came to the conclusion after a lot of brainstorming that we wanted to go ahead and work on an idea that we came up with, and we had a hook basically from a puzzle game that we used to play, a yes or no question puzzle game where
Someone will set up a scenario like there's a guy in a room with no windows, and he's hanging from the ceiling, and there's a big puddle of water under him. What happened? And
long story short, there was this one puzzle about well, I'm gonna give it away, but there's a story about
well, I don't want to give anything away, so let me take this back.
So we started saying, well, we started from the end of the story and had to go backwards. So it was like, how can we tell a story where someone's responsible for someone's death and they don't realize it?
What's the writing process like between the two of you? Who takes on what role?
Basically, we took on the same roles.
It was pretty equal. I mean, it was 50-50.
We both wrote the story in our own way.
And basically our process was to sit down with each other. We had regularly scheduled meetings and we would beat everything out, and then we had first we had a beat outline, then we had a treatment, and then we started working on the screenplay. So by the time we started working on the screenplay, what we would do was we would basically talk about the function of each scene and what we were trying to get at, and we were using Dramatica to do that. And so we would each write a part.
I've worked that way before with writing partners where we'll say, okay, we're going to do X number of scenes, and we both go off and we tackle those scenes, and then we'll come back together, read each other's scenes, and say, okay, I like that part in your scene, I like that part in mine, or whatever, and we just, be an amalgamation of our two different versions.
So we would sit at screenwriter together and basically merge the two together and get the best of what each of us wrote.
Give me an overall of how the shoot was.
The shoot was like any other indie film. It was very intense, very challenging.
It is probably the single most challenging, hard thing I have ever done in my entire life. And that ranges a broad spectrum from mental state to physical state to psychological, emotional. It was really, really tough.
It's almost like every day there was an obstacle that presented itself. And I know Yolanda actually had to deal with a lot more of the problems than I did. She was very good in sheltering me from what was going on so that I could just deal with the act of directing.
He needed to be present on set and directing, obviously, while we were shooting. So the shooting process itself was very arduous and hard, and I took several months to recover from it after we were done, and I lost almost 20 pounds while we were shooting. So
there's definitely days where you'd be pulling your hair out and wondering how you're going to get through the day and make your day.
I recommend the production diets for Hollywood, for all those people out there trying to lose a little weight. All you gotta do is carry a film on your shoulders with no money to do it.
I'm a filmmaker, man, so I loved it. I kind of relished the challenge. And
what did you think would be the biggest obstacle? Not what was it? We'll get to that. But
Right.
what did you think was going to be the biggest obstacle?
The biggest obstacle, I just think that, just trying to make your days. There's so much that you have to get done in an indie film.
The biggest obstacle I thought would be getting the money.
I just knew, just from the other projects I'd worked on, it was like I knew we were striking out to tackle a pretty ambitious film.
I was like, okay, here we are with this grandiose idea that we're going to shoot a feature. Where are we going to get this money?
At the same time, I think one of the things that I really learned that I wouldn't do, which was a huge obstacle, was I don't think I'll ever shoot. I don't think I'll ever be a DP and a director at the same time again. It's just too difficult. I get too much into the acting. I have a theater background as well. So I start, I either lock into the actors or I lock into trying to make the shot right.
We shot 29 days, and we were shooting 6-day weeks, basically over a 4.5 week period, because we started on a Friday. So it was very taxing, and we had a great crew, but it was limited, and we were on a very low budget. So what ended up happening was JD and myself both wore a lot of hats.
So was Yolanda completely hands-off when it came to the directing?
Yeah, Yolanda was, she was gone a lot of the time because she was producing the film, and she was putting out a lot of fires and helping out with a lot of different things, so she totally left that to me.
His most important focus is the story, which I think is terrific. He'll put anything else aside to the benefit of the story. So he's always looking how better to tell that.
And I actually wish I would have had her on the set more, because there are certain times where I'm moving so fast and thinking about the direction and helping the actors, their motivation and camera angles and technical stuff, that there are things that kind of slipped a little bit in the script that I wish, had she been there, she could have caught me and said, no, you remember, we need to, this needs to happen or that needs to happen. And it wasn't much, but there were one or two occasions where that did happen, where had she been there, she would have caught it. Because other times she was there and she did catch certain little things.
It's very fun for me to watch him direct, because to me, he seems most natural. As far as any other thing that I ever see him do, whether even it's hanging out with me or hanging out with friends or whatever, to me he seems like in his most natural state when he's directing.
What would you say were Yolanda's strengths, and what would you say were her weaknesses throughout the entire project?
Well, Yolanda's incredible. She has so many strengths. It's, in terms of producing, she always likes to play like she's not creative, but she was really, really creative with the whole writing process. And I was, when we first started out, I didn't know if it was gonna. I had a fear that all the creative stuff might fall on my shoulders, and I wanted her to really be a participant in that. But as we got underway in terms of our writing, she really stepped up to the plate, and she did as much as I did, and was writing as feverishly as I was. She really came through. So I was very, very impressed with her writing. Impressed with her producing.
I think JD's biggest strength is that he is such a collaborator. Like, he loves working with other people. He's very open to other people's ideas. He's really good about that. He's not like, oh, it has to be my way or the highway, or I'm the only person who knows how to do this. As a matter of fact, to his credit, I think he's that as far as you can get of being open to someone else's ideas just before it gets to the point of being to a fault. He is so good about it, particularly in the writing process and the whole process in general, even in the editing and cutting and stuff. He's so, the thing about him is he's willing to do no matter what it is to make it better. If whatever someone says is going to make it better, he's willing to do that, even if it's completely opposite of something that he was thinking about before, which is, I think, terrific.
I think the one area where we always fight is that I think she's getting much better, but she's a little thin-skinned. So when you make a correction with her stuff, it's like she'll really. She's still getting used to the idea of people critiquing her creative writing.
I guess the biggest weakness, he's gonna laugh too. His biggest weakness is making sure that he's cognizant of the time. But I have to qualify that because while we were shooting, he was very good about being cognizant of the time and knowing when, okay, I'm not going to be able to get this shot that I wanted to get today, or I'm not going to be able to do this because he was also a producer on the project, and he knew, like, we've got to make our schedule, you know, it's money, it's time, you know, it's crew, blah, blah, blah. So he was really good about time while we were shooting.
But that would be the one thing is, like, you know, being in that being ready to compromise. And I don't know if it's just because we're married and it's me saying this stuff.
We got into a lot of heated discussions during the writing process, and yeah, we were shouting at each other. We recorded some of our sessions, so it's kind of funny. I actually listened to one this past weekend, and I was just cracking up. There's little things about being married that those ways that you interact with each other as a married couple creeps into the conversation while you're talking about the writing.
Because I have the feeling that she'd be more compromising with someone else.
I don't know if I would have necessarily still, though, taken so well to criticism from someone else either, because even though I haven't written before, like, I would get into this mode where, you know, I had written something that I thought was like the best that I could get that piece of material, whether it be a scene or whatever. So, like, obviously I wouldn't stop until I thought I was done, and I was done when I thought it was good. So for there to be something wrong with it, I don't know, so that would just throw me on something else, because I'd be like, well, this is good. I stopped writing because it's good. So
The writing, the directing, or the producing offered more challenges to you as a unit.
Yeah, I would say that the producing was probably the most challenging because it was the thing that I had the least experience with.
Writing versus producing, what was the more challenging thing?
I think they were both really, really challenging on this particular project for me. However, I think overall, as a discipline, writing is harder than producing.
And then also, just to add to that, being the Robert Rodriguez type people that we are, trying to do everything ourselves, that really made it tough, because then we were like, it just, you know, we could have definitely used a few more hands to help us out.
Had I had, you know, more people, more staff, more money, my job as a producer would have been, I wouldn't say easy, but a lot easier than it was. And the job as a writer is, I have a whole new appreciation for writers. I mean, the writing process is so hard and so difficult, and it's so hard to come up with something that, you know, somebody wants to see, that is compelling, that makes sense, that, you know, I mean, there's a whole thing about writing that is just, you know, not everybody can do it.
Are you and Yolanda able to kind of leave the work at the office, or when you're working on a project, are you always 24/7 talking about the film? When it's done, like that?
That's a good question. We leave it at the office, and unfortunately the office is here at our house, but no, we actually, when we write and work together on the story, we are in the office. And it's crazy because if you all were our neighbors, you would probably think we're killing each other in here, because we have some really heated discussions about the story.
We've been together a really long time, and basically we've had a lot of practice arguing and screaming at each other and getting over it.
It's never really personal. And Yolanda knows that, I know that, so we're only out to try to make the film better. And then we're very passionate about what we're doing, so sometimes we'll, I'm a passionate brother and over the top sometimes, and likewise she is too. So we'll get heated, but we'll keep it here. We don't have we never had really any major fights or blow-ups or anything outside the office.
Less than 5 times. Probably even less, maybe like 3 or something. Like, we were so pissed off enough that we would carry it out through the rest of the night, but that was pretty much it.
We're really hard on each other, but we only know that being hard on each other in terms of criticism, it only serves to make the story better, because if she's not buying it or I'm not buying it, either of us is going to let the other one know.
And then actually the shooting process was the easiest time to get along because we were both, it was like we were in war together, like, and there was no time to be in conflict with each other.
Was it in San Diego the film won some festival awards, or?
JD won Best Director for Drama at San Diego.
Jay August, who plays Travis in the film, he won Best Actor for the feature actor.
We won Best Urban Film at the Sacramento International Film Festival, and we also won Best Feature at the Arizona Black Film Showcase.
Where else? We played we played like 7 or 8 different places. So we had a good little run, you know, for the places that we submitted to. So.
Do you have plans to work with JD in the future? I mean, is this just a one-time thing, or is this ongoing?
He actually, it always surprises me because he always says how much he wants to work together again.
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, again, Yolanda, to me, Yolanda's like the ultimate threat in Hollywood.
Because he's written with other people before and it was much easier process. He had fun. So I thought he was going to be like, oh my God, I never want to work with you again. And he's like, no, I really want to work together again, which I thought was pleasantly surprising.
So she knows, in terms of everything on the back end of putting a film together, she knows all that. And now she's working for Alcon Entertainment as the production executive, and she's also co-producer now on Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. I mean, there's just, in my mind, there's nothing that she can't do. You know, you name all that stuff, and then on top of that, she has a really sharp mind in terms of story and writing. I'm almost in awe of her at how much she's been able to accomplish since we've been out of school. So watch out, Kathleen Kennedy.
I mean, it would be great. It would be great if we could continue because actually, like I said, we do work really well together. We've known each other forever. We build upon each other's strengths. So, you know, we just have to have the right kind of situation. I couldn't do it again like we did it before because it was just too hard.
Well, thanks for the interview.
And it'll be interesting to see what he says.
You know, this has been so crazy. I'm looking down at the phone and trying to look in the camera. So I should have put the...
You're looking directly into the camera and not off to a pretend journalist.
Say again?
I said you guys are going to look directly into...
Well, that's what Yolanda... I wanted to look off to the side, and Yolanda wanted me to look directly into it, but I can't do it. I'm like talking to the phone, and it's over to the side. So I've been kind of caught in between. I think I should have put the phone in my eye line as a journalist off to the side or something.
So I have to remember to look at the camera.
He told me where he was looking, and I was like, oh, okay. It's the same spot.
I was like, okay.
Y'all want to look cockeyed.
Hi, I'm a director.